In this video, we would be discussing 5 critical diagrams on good positions. And these 5 diagrams are going to be extremely critical if you really want to improve your game. So I don't want to waste any further time, so let's start. So, we have the first position on our board. We are playing with the black pieces, and here white played the move Queen to e3. So take your time, pause the video and try to find the best continuation with the black pieces. Okay, so first of all, after Queen e3, the most obvious move is knight into a2, and it's actually the best move. You simply capture the pawn and now you are simply better in this position. Whereas if you try to do something else, like in the game we had king g7, so white simply gave a check, takes, and basically here the position is just even after knight b7 capturing a pawn, and the position is a draw. So it was a very simple position, just capturing the pawn on a2 and it's winning. So this was the first position, so now let's move on to the second position. Okay, so we have the second position on our board. This time we are playing with the white pieces and black played the move f6. So take your time, the position is very interesting, so try to solve it. Okay, so after f6, white is having a very strong move in this position, which is knight to h4. What's happening? After knight h4, you attack the bishop. First of all, you cannot capture the pawn because of d3 and the bishop is trapped after king d2. So if black plays bishop to e6, now I can simply play knight to g6. This is the main idea, as you cannot capture the knight because the rook would be hanging. So after rook to g8, you simply capture the pawn on h7, and after bishop f5, simply bishop h5. There would be checks after moving the knight, and the position is already winning for white. White can even go for playing something like g4, hitting the bishop and just removing the bishop from this particular diagonal. So yeah, this is what happens. So going back, if at the place of bishop e6, if black even plays something like bishop e4, it's still not really working because of simply d3. I can simply hit the bishop and still knight g6 is coming up and winning the game. So this was the second diagram, a very interesting one. You just need to see that f6, yeah, maybe the knight can sit on g6 as the pawn cannot capture the knight. So how can I do it? Just knight h4 and followed by knight g6 and you are winning. So this was the second position, so now let's move on to the third position. Okay, so we have the third position on our board, and here it's white to play, and black played the move queen to c7. So take your time, pause the video and try to find the best move with the white pieces. So after queen to c7, white is having a very strong move that you will realize that black is having a very strong weakness on d5 pawn. So you just need to target the pawn via queen to f3. And now after queen b3, you just need to realize that there is no good way for black to defend the pawn. For example, knight b6, white can play a5, attack the knight and capture the pawn. So black is only having one move, which is queen to c6. So you are basically checking the forcing options for black. And after queen c6, you realize that you are having queen g3, threatening mate in 1. So black have to defend it with knight to h5. And now you can play the move, simply queen to d6. And this is the most classy move. After queen d6, what's happening? First of all, if black plays something like, if black trades off the queen, we capture the queen and just capture the bishop and capture the pawn. And we are winning the game. And if black play instead knight d to f6 for something like this, white can already give a check, and it's a check and the queen is also hanging, so white can simply win an exchange and win the game. So this is exactly what happens. So after queen f3, after knight b6, you are not really forced to play a5. You can already play something like knight into h6 check as well, and you are still winning. So yeah, this was the third diagram, a very interesting one. You need to find this queen f3, first recognize the weakness, and as all your pieces are already developed, the knight on f5 is very strongly placed. So you just need to find an idea for, is there any way that you can attack the king and the weakness? You find queen f3, and then you find queen g3 and just queen d6. And this is the most classy move because black is having the only defender, and we are just exchanging the defender and winning the game. So a very interesting diagram. So now let's move on to the fourth diagram. Okay, so we have the fourth diagram on our board. We are playing with the black pieces, and here white played the move queen into g6. So pause the video and try to think, how will you try to continue the position if you are playing with the black pieces? Okay, so after queen into g6, let's try to discuss some random move. For example, if you try to capture the rook, it's not really working. After check, takes, check, and just white can play king g2 followed by rook h1, and it's nearly a mate, and white is completely winning. So queen into a1 is not really working up. You can't really go for capturing the pawn as the knight is already hanging. I can just first give a check, capture the knight, and the same sequence. So instead, you just need to realize that definitely white's king is weak, but at the same time, your king is also weak. So it's best to play the move queen to g3 check, and all those who have found this move, congratulations. After queen to g3 check, white is kind of forced to capture the queen, and the rook is attacked, and the pawn, so white have to play rook e1. And you just need to count the material now. Pawns are even, but if I talk about the major pieces, basically black is having two minor pieces for a rook, which is already a good position for black. All black needs to do here is, after rook f8, just get the knight from a6 to d7, and black is already having a better position, or you can say even a winning position. So this was the fourth diagram. It's all about just realizing that you are already better, just trade off the pieces so that your king would not really be weak. I know that many of the players think that why to trade off the queens as your opponent king is extremely weak. Yeah, that's true, but at the same time, your king is also weak. So the first priority is to just get away with the attack if your opponent is attacking you. So this was the fourth diagram. So now let's move on to the final diagram of the day. Okay, so we have the fifth diagram, and this is the most interesting diagram. It's white to play and black played the move d5. Pause the video and try to find the whole sequence. Like, first of all, I'm going to break down this puzzle into two parts. So first try to find the best continuation from the white side. Okay, so after d5, what's happening? After d5, you can't really capture the pawn because the queen is already hanging. And even if you try to capture with the c pawn, just bishop a6 and lose an exchange. So already you will realize that capturing the pawn doesn't make any sense because black is already having the double c pawn. So why to trade off the pawns? After d5, you can just play queen d2, and if you found the move, congratulations. After queen to d2, black cannot really capture the pawn as it would end up in a checkmating the black king. So now after queen d2, for example, if black makes a random move, now you are completely prepared to take and just take, and now you are having the pass pawn. So black have to play d4, and after d4 you capture the pawn, and here black played the move f6. And here's my second question. Pause the video and try to find the best continuation with the white pieces. How will you continue the position? Okay, so after f6, you will realize that black is having a very strong pawn on d4. It's necessary for white to somehow get rid of this pawn. So if you found the move b4, it's actually amazing. You are just doing mind-blowing. So after b4, what's happening? For example, if black plays something like rook e8, attacking the queen, you can simply chop off the pawn, takes, and eventually this position is good because you're already materially up. Your rooks are coming to the 7th rank and you're already winning the game. Instead, it looks like black will capture the pawn. And after seeing to b4, here comes the most critical move. If you have not really solved it, please try to pause the video. Okay, so after seeing to b4, the move is c5. A very interesting one. If you try to first capture the pawn, black can play c5, and now it's a bit annoying now. First not pushing the pawn, but first just trading off the rook, and now c5. And now somehow black is extremely fine and it's a drawish position. So that's why instead we first play c5, and now we are going to simply capture the pawn. So for example, if b3, you just now to realize that b3 pawn is much stronger than the d4 pawn. So it's better to capture the b3 pawn now. And now just rook d3. And as the d4 pawn is not really protected by another pawn, it's extremely weak. And on the just couple of moves, we are already going to capture the pawn. And white is already having a winning position. So yeah, this was a very interesting diagram, the fifth one. I personally like this diagram very much. So if you found the answers of all the diagrams, you just you tell me in the comment box below, yeah. And today's topic was all about how to convert a good position into a winning position. So yeah, it's a great way to improve your chess, because many times that you are definitely having a better position or even winning position, but many times you just often go wrong and you just end up having a bad position. The result gets a draw, or you sometimes even lose the game. So definitely none of the players wants that. We have to work upon it. So if you learned anything new today, make sure to like the video, share this video with everyone, and make sure to subscribe to our channel if you are new to our channel. It's free for you, but it helps us to motivate to make more like this. So I'm going to come up with these interesting videos like this. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Oneshot Chess.